Trump administration asks colleges to sign compact to get funding preference. If any California university signs this radical agreement, they'll lose billions in state funding, including Cal grants, instantly. If he actually follows through on this, that would be incredibly based. That would be insanely based. But I don't trust him at all. So we'll see, we'll see what actually happens. Did you see Gavin Newsom's going to be on Fortnite Friday in like an hour? Jesus, does he know what he's in for? Is this real? I saw this. I just assumed it was fake. Can he stop trying to appeal to the youth? No. Hold on. Don't discourage this. This is fine. He was on Atrioc's podcast recently. Well, that I care less about. Wasn't Atrioc on his? If Connor asks hard questions, he's actually goated. Yeah, did you guys see the kerfuffle online because Andrew Callahan did an interview of Pete Buttigieg, and Andrew Callahan tends to be very agreeable when he interviews people. So Pete Buttigieg kind of just like whitewashed himself really, really, really effectively. And Callahan said there were people who saw the video who were upset that he didn't push back harder. He really is a weasel. Yeah.
I do want to start talking about Gen Z men. They range from angry to openly nihilistic. They can't go.
I don't really know that much about Atrioc. How do I feel about the shoes? Are these penny loafers with a weird shape, or are these penny loafers that are being worn with socks that just barely peek above? Why expose the ankles? Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that personally. I'm not a big ankle showing guy. I'm not Italian. He even said I should have worn longer socks.
Back to the status quo, Gavin. They just can't. Seems like the DNC as a whole is trying to run a very similar playbook that didn't work and is wondering why they're not getting different results.
This is Gavin Newsom. And this is Brendan Ewing, a.k.a. Atriot. All right, Brendan Ewing.
Hey.
Welcome, brother.
Gavin, pleasure.
It's good to be with you, a.k.a. Atriot.
You got it right.
Your online name,
Yeah.
Which we'll get to in a minute. And for folks that don't know you, millions of people do because they watch you religiously. You're a rock star on YouTube, content creator, Twitch.
Entirely online. And then after 2021, we started to get inflation.
Date all of this.
Yes.
I mean, for decades and decades. And we have the first generation, this Gen Z, that literally is poised to do much worse than their parents' generation.
Yes.
This is the first generation in our lifetime, my lifetime certainly, but literally in America.
Newsom spends like 3/4 of the interview trying to understand Discord. Well, he is trying to like appeal to the kids here. Newsom is a freak psychopath with no sincere position. So he is just trying to like position himself favorably, appeal to the youngins.
In history where that would be the case. And so this is code red, and it's led to suicides, it's led to dropouts, it's led to all kinds of related issues. And there's guys are screaming disproportionately, men in some respects, and no one's paying any damn attention. And now we're looking at things, and I love what you're saying. We're looking at the platforms and not the underlying damn issues.
Yeah, a couple stats. Oh, sorry.
No, but yeah, but I want to get to, and I want you to hold those stats because I think they're incredibly important. But I want to go back just because so many people want to understand, and these are not root causes, but they're component parts of this larger conversation. We talk about the manosphere. What does that mean to you? I mean, what is it?
This is the investment that I think Trump and the Republicans made into spaces that are not even inherently political. They are spaces where people are talking about wrestling or UFC or video games or just finding connection often with other men and just trying to understand similar experiences in the world. And they invested in those spaces. And then, hey, on the side, you like this? Also on the side, let's stop the woke mind virus. Or, whatever. It would be something like that. It would be, Kamala Harris is not going to help you out. That's the idea. And they would mix that in with things people already like. And it became
I agree. I feel like I've been making this point for a while. I'm happy to see it echoed in a more, sort of widely distributed setting. It's a real issue. Like, again, people don't really engage with political content directly for the most part. If you're going online looking for political content, you're probably already cooked. For 90% of the population, it's like you pick it up by adjacency. A huge, huge, huge majority of MAGA voters are MAGA voters because their friends and family are MAGA voters, or because there's like cool cultural stuff happening that makes it feel good for them to be a MAGA voter,
very easy to slide in. And what's crazy, I don't think it's that hard for the Democrats to join these spaces. Most people like watching sports. Most people like, it's not rocket science. And I think, again, I can't overstate how it feels like a ball somewhere is being dropped when you can't speak even semi-authentically to people they're not from a different world. They're not that crazy.
Right.
So that's a problem that I would point out. And I think they did a good job with it. But I will also say this. Listen, we're going to fight in this country about social issues left and right forever, it seems. And I really noticed that in the wake of this Charlie Kirk thing, where it's just an endless amount of noise from every direction. You are inundated with it on social media. Every take goes viral in every direction.
Yep.
And nobody's making any progress and no one's making any forward motion.
Yeah.
But what I'll say is the main thing that I am seeing and feeling was a deep...
Sports are not chud-coded at all. That's a permanently online lefty opinion. 100%. I agree. I do agree with that, yeah. I mean, sports are chud-coded only to the extent that it tends to be men who pay attention to them. That's it. But beyond that, like, that's it. It's just like a broadly popular thing. They're just, yeah, it's normie coded, if anything. Now, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people still don't understand. A lot of people still don't understand. Like, one of the big reasons the Democrats lost and keep losing is because it's not fun to defend them. It's really fun to defend Republicans and Republican positions. There's a massive range of ways you can do it, and they're always giving you ammunition. They're helping you defend them because they're giving you like insane talking points. They have main character energy, so it feels like this big narrative struggle you can get involved in. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is out there gleefully defending Schumer. You might have these like upper middle class, suburban, technocratic wine mom and dad types who are like, well, Schumer's doing the best they can, or some dickless shit like that. But it's nothing compelling. It's nothing convincing. It's nothing that you could like lead a conversation with. You could have a fiery conversation about Mike Johnson. You could have a fiery conversation about Trump or Kash Patel or RFK Jr. You can't do that with any Democrats because they're all soulless technocrats who don't really like strike a position on their own. They don't give you reasons to believe in them or defend them outside of being technically correct, which is utterly insufficient in this day and age.
A deep resentment around costs and inflation and housing. And I truly think whichever side can solve those problems will not dictate, but we'll take the lead on social issues. People will go whatever direction is going to offer them solutions on that. And because Trump has not done that like he promised, there's already a reverse boomerang starting.
Atrioc is the AI creep, right? Buddy, wait until you find out what Gavin Newsom has done.
Yep.
Okay? It's going to go the other way. Regardless of whether or not anyone reaches out to podcasts, there will be a reverse boomerang. But if it goes this way and that isn't solved again, it'll be an even stronger... that is how it's going to play out. I'm certain of it. So, yeah.
So you're talking, I mean, it's, unpacking this a little bit, it's not just about politics. I mean, you talk about nihilism more broadly defined.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just, despair.
It's economics.
It's economics.
I really is.
Defined.
Yeah. And so, one thing
I think people feel more despair, at least on the Democrat side, from a lack of initiative on the part of the party than they do economically. There are people who are happier and more mobilized in poor Latin American countries, like Mexico, for example. A lot of people in Mexico really like Shine Bob. The average person in Mexico is much poorer than the average person in America, but there's a much greater level of political enthusiasm there. And political enthusiasm, by the way, is like the opposite of nihilism. If you're genuinely enthusiastic about the potential for the country to be improved through politics, that's an antidote to nihilism. You can do both at the same time, I guess. Like if your only politics is spite, so you're nihilistic about improvement, but you're enthusiastic about inflicting suffering, which a lot of fascists are kind of in that niche. But when it comes to like Democrat, liberals, whatever else, yeah, you need to give them something to hook on to, something to be excited about.
As a goal of mine on this podcast is to try and get you, not because I understand you have to win, not win, okay, I'm just like, you have to gain support. You're a politician. You have to represent more than just some individual base. And I think what you're doing, talking to people politically different than you, is a big step, and that's awesome. And I think that's cool to gain voters.
And gain on.
How is defeating fascists not exciting? Buddy, are the Democrats providing you that narrative right now? Are you getting a big defeating the fascists vibe from Democrats? Are you waking up every day and getting like news hits from Jeffries and Schumer and other prominent Democrats on how like they're tearing apart the MAGA establishment, undermining their political goals, defending everyday Americans? No, you're not. So you're not getting that narrative from them.
More for
and
me,
understanding, yeah.
No BS,
Yeah.
like gain understanding. I mean,
Yes.
Charlie Kirk on this show when we launched this podcast is the first, and I mean, and people were pissed.
And what's funny is I respected more for that. I tried to do some research and watch some of these.
No.
Some of the comments are brutal on you, and you did it anyway. And I respect you to keep doing it.
Yeah.
But so
No.
I'm not here to like push you in a direction that is going to make it harder to get a broader base. I think politicians should try to represent people that aren't directly aligned with them. Yeah. What I'm trying to get you to understand is like, I think I want to push you a little bit more economically
Love it.
on,
Yeah.
you know, in this country.
Most Dems in power are pro-Israel. Yeah, it's also pretty demoralizing to like be in favor of human rights and for your politicians to be nominally in favor of human rights, and all of them are bound by this like secret blood pact that forces them to lie to defend Israel 24/7. Like, it's really weird. It's not even like an incidental thing or whatever. They will agree with Republicans when it comes to cracking down on our own constitutional rights if it means defending Israel. Like, they are it goes beyond just like a disagreeable position. It's like they're all bound by a secret compact that we don't get to know about, but guides their behavior more than anything else. It's very weird. If Dems stop supporting Israel, do you think they'd be more popular? Objectively, yes. Like, it's an inarguably, yeah, 100%. Only 9% of Democrats support Israel or support Israel's actions in Gaza, I think, at this point. Like, it's like not, yeah, it's an incredibly like easy layup of a position. But they're all compromised.
From like the 40s to the 80s, we had an extremely low Gini coefficient of inequality.
Yeah.
It was low and flat for years, a strong rising middle class. And people broadly feeling were proud of their country. They were, and it wasn't like Marxism. It wasn't
Almost like the Israeli government controls our government through blackmail. I don't think that's true, though. Maybe some individual politicians, but I think that overwhelmingly it's just because we've chosen Israel as our like illiberal external military, de facto military base that we use to pay out to like military and surveillance and tech contracts, you know? Like, it's just we've externalized a bunch of evil and we've made it into a different country. You know what I mean? We've taken, well, didn't Hohenheim do this in Full Metal Alchemist? We're taking all the evil and we're putting it in a different country. Or not all of it. There's still plenty of evil in America. But like, per capita, Israel is 20 times as evil as we are, you know, per capita. In total value, maybe still them, but it's closer. I don't know.
You know, so it was a capitalist country and businesses could thrive, but people felt like they had a real chance. And since we've allowed this increased consolidation, since we've continually used government funds to prop up the stocks and housing of elderly boomers that own it all, it has become more, it's a ladder that is fewer and fewer rungs to get on.
Yep.
And so if there isn't substantive change on that front, nothing else matters. Is what I'm saying. I really believe that nothing else matters. It won't break through. And I understand that, you know, these boomers vote too. Again, people give you a lot of crap for California housing. It's a tough problem. The more I look into it, I used to be someone who just threw around blame really easily, and now I read more. It gets me depressed because it's like it's an impossible, complex problem. People that have the housing, they put their life savings into it.
Man, I disagree. I think it's like really simple. There are states that are building lots of housing. You just have to have the balls to like step over the impediments. You just need to have like the mandate of the people. You need to have the will. The grand dragon needs to reside within your heart. Like it's not that technical. Like, implementation is technical. You know what I mean? But the will is what matters.
It's the retirement. If you try to bring housing prices down, well, then now this person's mad. I get it. But if it doesn't change, we're screwed. There's no getting around this. This is an angry, nihilistic generation that wants change bad.
No, and what was the quote-unquote California housing crisis going back decades and decades?
Yeah.
Supply-demand imbalance, NIMBYism,
No, a lot of it
issues around localism.
and
now it's across the board, all across the United States. People are feeling those pressures, and that's why I think as you brought up Ezra Klein a moment ago. We had him on the podcast too. The whole abundance agenda and focusing on away from process paralysis and lawfare and all of the NIMBYism to a YIMBY, yes in my backyard, not no in my backyard mindset, in order to break through that and to start to address that supply-demand imbalance, to lower costs, to ultimately provide more points of opportunity. So I think you're 100% right, and I think it's only reinforced the broader analysis by the fact there's a lot of Trump supporters that otherwise would be Bernie supporters
Absolutely.
as well, or vice.
Jesus, he's endorsing abundance. Yeah, of course he is. He's done that before. He's been championing a California bill that passed to allocate resources to new construction. Yeah, that's not new. That being said, like, there is an enemy here, and you have to be willing to name it.
versa. So this sort of notion of populism, and not in the pejorative sense, but truly representative sense, recognizing what's missing and giving voice to that. Now, the question is the prescriptions that Trump's offering, as you suggest, I couldn't agree with you more, are sort of proven to do precisely the opposite. I mean, the largest tax increase on middle class and working folks, i.e. tariffs, inflation that's now starting to go back up, and Fed policy that is actually not accelerating in terms
of...
If
anything, I'm surprised he doesn't think abundance is too left-wing. Abundance is explicitly a liberal project created by think tanks to provide a new compelling narrative for why the solution to this country's problems are more neoliberal think tanks and not the left. Like, the abundance movement is literally a book written by Substack anti-left neolib grifters who live off those Substack subscriptions, which then immediately spawned, somehow, artificially, a movement with conferences all attended by exactly the people that you would think would attend it, you know? People who want to make this about like technocratic, bureaucratic policy making, people who think that it's not about large scale power imbalances, but oh, you just need to tweak, you just need to tweak the numbers a little bit. It's fundamentally like an anti-left proposal. Now, there are people like Mamdani and a lot of leftists online who have effectively co-opted their standards and are now using it to like model a reformist approach towards addressing these problems. And I think that's wonderful. You know, take the good parts, leave the bad.
Decline in interest rates. But because of those uncertainties, particularly as it relates to pressure inflation, now is not necessarily moving as quickly to lower borrowing costs as we had otherwise hoped. So I totally agree with that. So let's talk just about that. I mean, Scott Galloway is...
I took his class. When I was at NVIDIA, I was in Scott's class, and he's one of the people, the way he spoke, not even the content of what he said, the way he presented, I was like, that is something I can learn from. And I took to that. So when I was starting to stream, yeah.
And Scott, Scott, for those that don't know, we also about on the pod as well. He's, I mean, he really speaks to the Gen Z generation. He speaks in generational terms as theft. You look at this big, beautiful bill and all this massive tax cuts that are burdening the generation that is increasingly already feeling like no one gives a damn about them.
Yeah.
So it just reinforces, I think, the call to arms that you're suggesting here in terms of consciousness, that is, as it relates to the moment.
Yeah. And I think these trends were in a bad direction before Trump, but he has done absolutely nothing to help. I mean, the big beautiful bill is a disaster. It is a massive multi-trillion-dollar credit card swipe that we younger people are going to have to pay. And I don't know. I'm not suggesting getting rid of Social Security or anything, but it is frustrating as a young working person that the biggest line item on the government budget is checks to older people, many of whom have houses and have a paycheck to afford. You know, it is just... I think we are not seeing enough go to people that are trying to get started in the country and get on the ladder.
And do you see it from, I mean, so there's tax policy that's obviously profound and outsized. Yeah. It's interesting. We had Steve Bannon on as well. And, he was arguing for progressive tax policy. I said at a certain point, I said, Steve, you sound like you're governor of California, arguing for California's progressive.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's about the most of this that I can tolerate. Sorry.